Hello, as you can see, I'm just trying to get my camera angle good here, or at least halfway decent. Okay, I think that's what we're going to go with. See if I can get myself. Who is on here with me on a Friday night? Hello, Blue Cove. Myself. Who is on here? I gotta turn off with my me audio. On a Friday night. Mute myself over there. Okay. Hello. Yeah, what are y'all doing on Friday night? How come nobody's out? Nobody. Hello from Washington D.C. Hello. Nobody is hanging out. Well, I know. Um, I was out today at the drugstore and stuff, Target, and I remember thinking, it's time to go home. One thing that has happened as a result of this quarantine situation is it's weird being out for a long period of time. It's weird. I feel like I want to go home. Like, well, how am I going to ever get back to the days when I'm really, because I'm really a night owl and I really like to go out and listen to live music and, you know, go have a drink somewhere. I'm really that person. I don't know how I'm going to get back to that. But anyway, thank y'all for joining me to, just share some company on a Friday evening, 6:38 here in LA. So what am I doing on here? I just wanted to come and catch up because it's been a minute. I took a little bit of a breather just to kind of catch my breath. We're on spring break here at my university, so I had a few days to myself where I could luxuriate, body bubble bath and that kind of thing. Self-care, right? Self-care. Write down what you're doing for self-care. What are you doing to just keep yourself feeling good, keep your mood together, anything you're doing. Some people are starting to exercise again. I mean, like some people can go to outdoor events. But anyway, what I really wanted to come on here and talk about is a few things that have been happening in the news. I guess I could say in the Black people news. One, I wanted to give some follow up to my thoughts on the Black Church, the PBS program, the Black Church that Henry Louis Gates did, and I gave some of my thoughts before it aired, and so I just wanted to come on because somebody in the comments had asked me, what do I think? Oh, Blue Cove is crafting. I hear you. I always say I want to craft. I have crafting supplies. Um, and I bought this thing for pencils and pens and markers and stuff. You see, it's empty. But I like cats, so I got this thing. I don't have time for crafting. I like the idea of it. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, yeah. So somebody asked me what did I think in the end after watching the Black Church on PBS, and pretty much what I said at the beginning. I appreciate the fact that Henry Louis Gates does it for history's sake and for educating the masses, but at the same time, it's inadequate because when we talk about Black religion, we almost are always talking about only the Black church, and it's very limited and narrow. And obviously, if you're on my channel, I'm talking about magic, religion, conjure, and hoodoo, and African traditional religions. I'm obviously not just talking about the Black church. And so it would it would be great to me if oh yeah, I must put my headset on. It would be great for me. Let me know if you can still hear me because I don't know if I was coming through. Okay, can you hear me still? Somebody just give me a thumbs up or type in a something. Can you hear me? Because I'm going to be talking and I'm going to assume you can hear me. um, so as I was saying, oh, thank you, Blue Coat. As I was saying, it's inadequate at this point to just talk about the Black church. We need to start educating the world and ourselves about the breadth of Black religion. And then at the very end, so if you watched, there's what, 2 episodes. At the end of the second episode, it's like Henry Louis Gates ran out of time and space, and so he just started cramming a whole lot of things in there, and that felt rushed and somewhat artificial. So he wasn't able to do justice to a lot of the, I guess, the things that he considered to be newer phenomena in the Black church. So I thought, okay, could you not have done a part 3 maybe? I don't know. But anyway, my commentary, because I've already made a video about this, my commentary remains the same. It's inadequate to only talk about the Black church, only talk about Christianity if you're going to talk about Black religion in America. It's just inadequate. But on some level, it serves as a great foundation. It's a starting place. That's what I'll say. Also, so let me know also, if y'all who are here, if you saw it, The Black Church on PBS. It is worth watching, especially if you're not really familiar with the foundation. It is worth watching. Okay. I feel like it was tedious for me to get that out. But I wanted to talk about, have y'all heard that Stevie Wonder is moving to Ghana? This might be a little random, this conversation. I refuse. Victoria, you refuse to watch it? Did y'all hear Stevie Wonder is moving to Ghana? And so God bless him. Of course, he gets to go and live wherever he wants to go. And I thought, wow, Stevie Wonder has given up on America, right? Blue Cove, to save his grandchildren, has given up on the American dream, American dream deferred for Black people, nightmare even perhaps. And here is a person, Stevie Wonder, who is rich and famous and has obviously status and power because of that. And he is still saying, I would rather leave this country because it is so thoroughly racist that I'm afraid for the well-being of my grandchildren. And not just their physical well-being, but their mental consciousness, right? Like when you are raised in a society that tells you that you're less than, we all have to overcome that, right? It's like we're in an abusive relationship. And at some point we have to go beyond the abuse that we suffer, telling us that we're less than. And so Stevie Wonder is making a statement like, I don't want my grandchildren and, great grands coming behind him to have to go through that. Even his own children, right? Didn't he recently have children, fairly recently? His youngest children might be like 10 years old or something. And he wants to save them from that. And that's his idea about moving back to Africa. And so that's one plan, I'll say. And he's able to do that, right? He's able to move there and have his own probably compound for his family and make a life there. But what it reminded me of, and why I bring it up here, is it reminds me of W.E.B. Du Bois. So the great, our greatest probably intellectual, bar none, is the great W.E.B. Du Bois. And Du Bois fought for most of his adult life for the freedom for Black people. And he really went up against American racism in every way he could, because he was determined that America was going to give us our due. Now, Du Bois lived for almost the entire 20th century. He lived a very long life. So he lived almost the entirety of the 20th century. And because of that, he interacted with a lot of different leaders, right? Initially Booker T. Washington, and he was in conflict with Washington because Washington was really a conservative and, said we need to be accommodationist to the white people. Don't rush in, don't move too fast. Basically, don't scare white people. If you scare them, they turn on you and try to kill you. And Booker T. Washington had been a slave, right? His autobiography is called Up from Slavery. And Washington was like, we need to chill and go slow. So Washington was that leader who said, let's go slow, let's build our own communities, yes. Let's build our own schools, yes, which he later built Tuskegee. But Du Bois was a younger leader, a younger black man at that time, right? He was very privileged. He was the first black man to get a black person to get a PhD from Harvard University, which is where Henry Louis Gates is now. First black person to get a PhD from there. So very high status. And that youthful energy that says, no, we're not going to wait anymore. We're not going to wait. And these white people are just going to have to deal because we're not going away. And America owes us a debt for our hundreds of years of servitude to this nation. Then eventually comes Marcus Garvey, who says, well, the solution is we just have to leave. We have to go back to Africa because white supremacy is what it is. These people are never going to give us our due. And Du Bois said, look, to Garvey, who was really Jamaican, right? He said to Garvey, you need to just go back to Jamaica because you're not helping Black Americans. We help build the wealth of this nation, and America owes us our due. So that was always Du Bois's position. America owes us our due. We have already proven ourselves. We've already done everything that we should be expected to do. We should be full citizens of this country. And when I teach this in class, the students are all like, yeah, right, Black power. We are not waiting and we're not holding our tongues. But over the years, over the decades, long after Washington, long after Marcus Garvey, Du Bois ends up moving to Ghana, right? W.B. Du Bois finally packs up and says, peace out, America. This is a nightmare, right? He's the one who's famous for saying that the main problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. He's the one who gave it. He said, America can't get over the color line. And because America cannot get over the color line, it will not be as great as she can be as a nation. So nevertheless, he kept fighting to make America literally be great. But in his older years, he said, forget it. It's done, right? He also said to us that American Christianity, just Christianity really, he said Christianity is Jim Crow from top to bottom. He said Black people need the church and they go to church to get emotionalism. It's an emotional release for Black people. He also said, you can't take the voodoo out of Black religion, which I kind of appreciate from W.B. Du Bois, although he kind of meant it as I think he kind of meant it throwing shade, we would say now, right? You can't take the voodoo out of Black religious practice, meaning you could look at the way Black Christians were practicing Christianity and see the African in it. He's like, no matter what you do, it's still going to be some voodoo in there, right? Meaning some Africa. But he said, you know what? Black people need a religion, and the religion they have in America is Christianity. So you can't take it from them, but at the same time, it's just emotionalism and just giving Black people something to do, because the institution of Christianity is so Jim Crowed that it wasn't going to ever make any difference. Now, here's a man who was great learned, great intellect. And he said, it won't make a difference. So also, when I talk about, the Black church and how only talking about the Black church, when we talk about Black religion, we get this, I'm reminded of somebody like Du Bois who says, it won't make any difference because Christianity is itself Jim Crowed. And the white Christians are not living up to Christianity the way Black people do. Black people and white people don't do Christianity the same way. And therefore he said, well, let Black people have their release at church because that's all it's going to be. But then in his own life, he's like, I got to go. Because I'm tired of fighting, because I see that the problem of the color line is so entrenched in America that if we're not going to do anything about that, forget the whole deal. I'm out. So he spends the last years of his life in Ghana and dies there. right? So if anybody's been to Ghana, you can go and see that there's a, memorial to him, and, all of these things to go and see, sort of tourist sites, right? To go and visit where Du Bois lived and died. But so I think, wow, Marcus Garvey got the last word, even though Du Bois thought, Garvey and Du Bois fought like, they fought like cats and dogs in the media back in the day, if you didn't know. If you did know, Du Bois and Garvey, they had much beef in the media, in the press at the time. And so what's ironic is that Du Bois kind of loses the argument in the end, because he himself moves to Africa when Garvey said, yo, we got to go. And so when I hear this recent news about Stevie Wonder moving, I'm like, well, here's another, great African-American person who says, I am deeply saddened by the racism that is so persistent in America. And I'm here in LA. There's a radio station here, the R&B radio station KJLH is owned by Stevie Wonder. And so he's on the radio, he comes on his own radio station, right? And he has these conversations, and he's somebody who is he's always, talking about love and compassion. And, he really lives out of this sense of love, right? You can hear it in his music, the music that he's given us over the years. He's about beauty and love and compassion. And so for somebody like him to say, I gotta go, means that we lose out. We as Black people, but also America loses out, because that's somebody who is full of love to give, and who says, but the hate of America squashes it. So anyway, this is what made me think of. Let me know your thoughts here in the comment section. Those of you who are with me, what do you think? What do you think? I also got this super chat thing going on. So if y'all want to send me some emojis, I don't know how exactly this works. Well, let me try to do it myself. Right from my other YouTube channel right here. You'll see my own comment come up. Custom emojis. Yeah, so you can find some custom emojis to share with me. Is there a birthday thing? With my best friend's birthday yesterday. I just got off the phone with her before I came on here. Okay. What else? Oh, the other thing I wanted to share is about, just to ask y'all, have you heard about this, what should we call it, issue with Cornel West and not getting tenure at Harvard? So at Harvard University is playing a common theme throughout this video. I started off talking about the Black church and Henry Louis Gates. That's where he teaches, Harvard University. W.B. Du Bois, first Black person to get a PhD from Harvard. Cornel West, again, a great intellect, also at Harvard. So Harvard is kind of a theme. So did y'all hear about this in the news? And if you're not an academic, you might not understand exactly what's going on, but just let me know if you heard about this, or you wonder, like, what is the big deal? Or so what, he didn't get tenure at Harvard. But it's really a slap in the face for Cornel West not to have tenure at Harvard or anywhere really at this point in his life and his career. So, I'm a professor at a university. I don't have tenure either. Universities these days don't want to give tenure the way they used to. So there's different tracks now. There's at least 2 different tracks. And so for somebody who's on the non-tenure track or contingent track, it normally means that you get a contract for a number of years. And then typically, as long as you're doing your job appropriately and your evaluations are decent, they just renew your contract and you keep going. So you could be at the same institution for years and years and years, as I have. They just renew the contract who knows now in the age of COVID was. But anyway, that's how it normally goes. Cornel West is somebody who was previously at Harvard, and he already had tenure, and he gave up his tenure, went to other institutions, right? So it's already unusual, and Cornel West is already a very privileged Black man, Black scholar, professor, all of that. He's very privileged, in which he says in recent interviews, he's been saying, I have to say I'm, very privileged, very fortunate. He has his choice about where he wants to go and teach. Almost any university in this country would open the doors to him who wants to come. Even Harvard wants him to stay. They just don't want to give him his due. So, and when I say that, to get tenure means for a professor that you have a permanent position. So you're protected in terms of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of research. You don't have to worry about your university firing you because of something you wrote, because of the research you do, something is controversial. You're basically allowed to do research in whatever way you want and not worry about negative consequences causing you to lose your job. So, or you might make a statement in the media these days, right? Especially Cornel West, he's in the media a lot. He's, very famous intellectual. He's what we call a public intellectual. So you see him all over the news, you see him at rallies, you see him in very public spaces talking about social justice. And that's the way he's led his career. He's not just a professor in a classroom. He's also been in the streets. He's also been at rallies. He's gotten arrested, for civil disobedience, that kind of thing. And granted, he already had tenure at Princeton, Union Theological Seminary. Like I said, he's very privileged. He could go to any Ivy League or wherever he wants to go. But it's the principle of the thing with Harvard. It's the principle. And he's been speaking about, how political the situation is as well, because he's been speaking out against or on behalf of the Palestinian people, right? And so he says allegedly that, the people who are I'll just say people who are pro-Israel are people in very high places, and that they have some influence on the fact that he has not gotten tenure at this point with Harvard. And so he's been very public about that. Anyway, it's really egregious that he does not have tenure and that he has to go through this. So it's a matter of principle at this point. It's not a matter of that he in particular needs it or he in particular needs the money. It's a matter of principle. So think about whatever your job is. And if you've done everything at that job to get a certain level of promotion and income, and you don't get it, you've done everything. You have so far surpassed what is necessary that it shouldn't even be a question. Right, Blue Cove, he's having to prove himself all over again. But not only that, they're basically telling him, we're not going to give you tenure. We're going to give you this other position, which is not tenure. You can stay here, and you can probably stay here as long as you want, but we're not going to give you tenure. So that would be like you in whatever position you have, whatever job you might have, and you have surpassed what it is you're supposed to do. Other people tell you how great you are. You are clearly a good asset for your company. Everybody in your whole industry knows of you. You might even be in the public eye in some way because you're so good at what you do. And yet your company says to you, no, we're not going to give you a promotion. But you know what? You could take this other job. It's a lateral move. And we'll give you more money even, but we're not going to give you promotion. And so you'd say, well, why can't I have the promotion? Do you see what I'm out here doing? Everybody knows what I'm doing. Everybody knows my scholarship, things I've written over the years, numerous things over the years. I'm on television he's like Henry Louis Gates. And so Harvard says, we're not going to do that. No. So Cornel West says, well, I'm probably going to have to leave Harvard because, I'm not going to take their other offer, which is, no, take this other thing. Take the crumbs we want you to have and be quiet about it. And he goes, I'm just not that kind of black man. He says, I'm a free black man. Now, all of us like to think of ourselves as free people. But when it comes down to it, how free are we? How free are you? Because what contains or constrains the decisions you make about things you can say at work, things you can post on social media. So he says, I'm a free black man, and I'm not going to stop talking about the rights of the Palestinian people. And, he goes, I believe in social justice. I believe in doing what's right. And I believe in talking about what's right. And if these people here at Harvard don't appreciate me, then I'm probably going to leave no matter what else they offer me. No matter if they give me more money, I'm not going to take it. Because what they're saying to me is, we won't stand with you. Because if something hits the fan over you, we want to be able to fire you. That's what not having tenure means. If something goes awry, we want to be able to disassociate from you. But if we give you tenure, then we can't really. And we don't want our donor base to be upset with us if you say something, I don't know, that might somehow be perceived as anti-Semitic. And so that's the deal with Cornel West, is he's like, well, since I'm a free black man and I do have options, I will probably leave this institution of Harvard, which holds itself to be such a great bastion of liberal white people. But it's not, because they're still trying to control this black man and his scholarship and his social activism. Now, I know a lot of people were upset with Cornel West because he was quite the critic of Barack Obama. And yes, he was. Cornel West was quite the critic of Barack Obama. And that's fine. I mean, you can have critics. We're not going to always agree. We should not even be expected to all agree. He didn't, he was a very strong critic against Obama, right? So a lot of people was like, well, I don't hear from him now during the Trump administration. Well, he had plenty to say. He had plenty to say. He got arrested out here in these streets. Anyway, I don't feel like I have to defend Cornel West. He is a man of lots of status and money. Somebody I've met, actually. I mean, I've met Cornel West a number of times and had some good conversation with. So I don't have to defend him, but it's the principle of the thing. And it is striking to me. I'm like, well, then he and I are in a similar situation in terms of the university position. I mean, he's got a much more prominent title, but they, they don't have to renew my contract here. They don't have to renew his contract there. I'm like, well, how is it possible? So again, think about in your own workplace what it would be like to be in that kind of precarious situation, even though you're so well known in your own field and across the industry. You're in your company and across your whole industry, and then your company to act like, well, you can just take whatever we give you. That's crazy, y'all. So one of the times I met Cornel West, I was still a grad student. So I was in my PhD program in religion. And so if you don't know, Cornel West is a philosopher, and he also does African-American religion and African-American history. And so he was attending a conference that PhD students attended, and he was giving us advice, right? And so he was giving us advice to say, in these academies and these institutions in America, and this is for Black people, for Black graduate students. And he was like, so my advice to you as Black people coming into these largely white universities is CYA, right? Y'all know what CYA means. Cover your, right? And he said, make sure that early in your career, you do everything these people expect you to do. Whatever you got to write, you got to get published, you have to have, multiple publications in the right kinds of journals. And he said, so you know what the right kinds of journals are. You can't be over here publishing articles in Ebony magazine or Essence magazine or even the New Yorker. You can't, no, that doesn't count for academics. And he goes, in our industry, you know where you have to publish. So make sure you do that first before you step out here and do something more controversial, because you want to make sure you do what they tell you first, so you get tenure first, and then you can go on and do something that might be perceived as more controversial later on. You won't lose your job. He told us this in about, I want to say it was maybe 2002. I want to say that's a conversation I had with Cornel West then. And he was going through it then. That was the first time he left Harvard, because the president of Harvard at that time had an issue with him. And so he was having this conversation, and he was leaving, going back to Princeton, I believe, at that time. And he told us, make sure you CYA and do everything that you need to do in these institutional streets, because you don't want to leave yourself out there where you can get fired. And yet here it comes back and bites him on the butt again. But those of you who are still with me, thanks for hanging in. As I said, it's just kind of a random chit chat. Imagine knowing that you're not really free enough, that you have to do what your industry wants you to do, even if it's not what you want to do. You're not free. And I say that, so how free are any of us as Black people who have jobs in any kind of institution that's largely white, a PWI? You're in a predominantly white institution, be it healthcare, whatever your job is, there's a whole industry in whatever you do. And so what is reinforced to me as I tell this whole long rambling story via Cornel West's experience is he's reminding us that no matter how prominent we get as Black people, when you work for a predominantly white institution, you're still proving yourself all of the time. And so who was it who wrote? Blue Cove said he shouldn't have to prove himself all over again. So here he is, really he could retire. He's in his late 60s. He really could just retire. He's worked his whole life. He has proven himself to be an intellectual on the same level, at least similar as W.B. Du Bois, who I said at the beginning, the greatest intellectual we have. Still, Cornel West stands in that lineage, that legacy. And this Black genius is still expected by Harvard University to prove himself. And even when he does, it surpasses all of their things, right? They still say, that's not quite enough. So for us, I don't know, does anybody feel my frustration or feel the frustration in your own kind of job, wherever you work, or just being Black in America, where you know that whatever you are doing, you still have to prove that you belong, that you're not a threat. You have to prove you're not a criminal. You have to prove that you're, somehow decent. We have to continually prove our humanity. Kathleen, doesn't that make it obvious that we have got to get out of this system? I know, Kathleen. So, like I said, so like Stevie Wonder leaving the country and going to Africa, that would be one place to go, right? That means we leave America, or do we do the Black nationalist thing and try to circle the wagons and create our own nation within a nation? Do we do it that way, Kathleen, where we're not reliant upon other people to recognize us, acknowledge us, pay us? I mean, all the time, our lives all the damn day living in the white gaze. Exactly, Kathleen. We live in the white gaze no matter what level we get to. And that's what's, Cornel West's experience right now is so instructive for all of us. Even if, some people are like, oh, well, he's got enough money. It's not about him personally. It's a reflection of how we all live, or sort of forced to live under that white gaze throughout our entire lives as Black people here. Some white company is saying, you get to have this or you don't get to have this. Prove yourself that you're enough and then I'll give you this. Or if you don't, then I won't give you this. If you know, and we've learned to navigate in it, even though it's a burden. We've learned that that's a normal. It's normal, even though it causes Black people to have more, health issues, high blood pressure, everything you could name, really. Black people suffer more for in terms of our health. And certainly part of that is because of the stress of performing for the white gaze that says you're never enough. Even the athletes, right? They get told, shut up and dribble. Doesn't matter if you're LeBron or Kobe or whoever ascends up to superstardom level. Shut up and dribble, right? They did it to Muhammad Ali. Like, you're not that special. Like, let me just remind you all the time, you're not that special. I don't know if you remember when Barack Obama was running his first time, there was a white senator from the South, Republican, who said about him that he was well-spoken. He's very articulate, but he reminds me of uppity, of some, he's very uppity, which was an assessment that Barack Obama was out of his lane, right? Okay, Kathleen, I appreciate you being a conversation partner with me. I think that some of us get triggered when they hear moving to Africa. I feel like we have to get out of this system, even if it's not physical, but stop participating in upholding it. Yeah, Kathleen, and that's what the Black nationalists had in mind, right? Is that we can't be, how did you say, like beholden to this system. Funny, they told, who did you want to say? Shut up and LeBron, yeah, shut up and dribble recently. Exactly. That's why I brought up that example. They told him to shut up and dribble. And now did y'all see what LeBron is, in Ohio? Something else about the schools that he started, or something else that he did too, which, LeBron paid that no mind, right? And kept going, right? He's like, oh, not only can I dribble, not only will I not shut up, but I'm going to build these businesses. Right. So LeBron is doing a lot of things, but the white gaze said, you're out of line. Dial it back. I only want to see you on the court. Entertain me. That's all. Now, I've been watching on television, I'm late to this party, but the show Ballers, and I don't know why I keep watching it, but I keep watching it because this, with The Rock. Has anybody seen this? It's on HBO on demand. I finally catch you live. Hey. If anybody's watching Ballers or have watched, is it over? As I said, I'm late to the party with this show Ballers. And it's about pro football players. The Rock is this retired football player who is now a financial manager for athletes. And John David Washington is in it. And any case, I'm not even really a fan of football per se, but The Rock, yes. And as I watch it, though, I'm like, again, this is not an original thought. Y'all be like, duh. But the NFL draft is like a slave auction. This is the place where white men can gather to literally buy Black men. Again, it's not an original thought, I know, but I'm watching Ballers and I'm like, wow, it's so blatant. And so not only just the draft pick, but once they're these athletes who are 90% of them are Black, are so like thrilled and beholden now to the white man who says, here's your contract, $20 million over 4 years or whatever it is. And yes, you're excited to get this kind of money and you love football, you want to play the game. But the way the athletes in the show even respond to the owners, It's it's very disturbing, especially in 2021, to watch that show and to see how the black athletes basically have to scrape and bow before these white male owners of the teams. It's really problematic. And I'm thinking, how come nobody talks about this more? I've always thought every time NFL does drafting on live TV, and it's celebrated, and it's like, yay, did you get picked up? Did you get picked up? And they're all wanting to get picked up because it is really life changing. It's like they do in real life, and we celebrate being drafted. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, it is life changing. It's making, these black men millionaires overnight. And we see the fallout in the show, right? Because they don't know what to do with the money. Here comes Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, right? His character, who I guess is based upon a real person, to help them manage their money, to help them manage their lives. Because now you have these young black men who don't know how to manage this power and wealth that they now have. And they've got all these women, all this just rampant bad behavior and bad choices, right? Because they're young men. So, you give any young person a whole bunch of money and nobody can tell them no, and they're going to make some bad decisions. So the show it's largely comedy, right? But the undercurrent is white men get to buy black men. If you have enough money to own a team, NFL or NBA, you get to buy black people. And you get to constrain them in terms of things they can say publicly. You get to dictate their behavior. And when they step out of line, you get to reprimand them and punish them. And so I just watch it like, hi, Tess. Yeah. I mean, I'm almost, like I said, I keep watching it. I think I'm in season 3 now. And I keep watching it, but largely, again, The Rock, he's fine. Like, my God, I just look at him like, so that's probably the reason why I keep watching. But I'm getting a little bit invested in the characters and stuff. But I'm just hit over the head. Like, these black men chase after being picked up. As new athletes come onto the show, they're trying to get a deal. They're willing to do anything to get a deal, to move all over the country, do whatever they have to do. And the white owner calls and it's like, okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, boss. Okay, boss man. That's what they call them. The owners, boss man. And I'm like, wow. Kathleen, it is life-changing, but we also are smart people. And the parallel of that with slave auction is mind-boggling. We've got to stop following the white man. It's like we haven't learned anything. Tessa, he is a looker. May. My niece attends a predominantly white university, and she was so depressed by the racism that she tried to take her life this week. I'm really sorry to hear about that, May. Yeah, really sorry to hear about that. The reason I haven't seen the show. Here's actually the reason I haven't seen the show, Kathleen, for The Rock. Yeah, it is like we haven't learned anything. And then I try to say, well, maybe am I saying too much? Am I doing too much? Because it is an avenue that a lot of not a lot of black people, but it is an avenue, a gimmick, as James Baldwin called it, for some black people to get up and out of the ghetto or out of some very, out of poverty, frankly. I can't stand any minority who plays the middle for money. Okay. I don't want to be somebody who's like, let me just extinguish this one route up out of poverty that so many black men have through the NFL and the NBA in particular. Baseball is a little bit different because there's not actually that many black African Americans in baseball, which I learned about from a colleague here at my university who does research on Major League Baseball. And Major League Baseball has another issue with race where they go into Latin American countries and recruit the Latin American guys for much less money because they don't want to have to pay as much as they would have to pay black men in America. They realize, oh, we can go to Latin America and get a whole bunch of them for pennies on the dollar. So, as I'm saying, and I see, we have to rethink the idea of money and ghetto and poverty. I know. So I'm conflicted. In other words, I'm conflicted because I recognize that, yes, this is a mechanism by which a good amount of people come up out of poverty, and not just the players of the game, but all the people the NFL and NBA employ, right? So if they did not exist anymore, then there would be whole industries taken out. So I'm conflicted, but then I watch Ballers and I'm like, this is a slave auction and we participate in it eagerly. What? So, and if those have watched, if you have been watching it, the other thing is the treatment of women. The presentation of women is really pretty atrocious. And I guess I keep saying, okay, I guess they're trying to be true to say that this is really how young men go through all these women. And it's set in Miami, so around the Miami Dolphins, and so it's always warm and there's always bikini clad women walking around or naked women walking around, and the black men are largely chasing white women. So I'm like, wow. So in addition to this whole sub-narrative about the NFL and the slave auction scenario being owned by a white man, in addition to that sub-narrative, here's another sub-narrative that presents white women as the desirable women. So then I say to myself, well, do I want to see black women presented that way? Am I saying, well, why aren't the black women being sexually objectified in this? So all around, this show is so problematic. But is it just reflecting on something that we need to fix in our society? Well, yes, I'll say that. It's reflecting a lot that we need to fix in our society, but watching it is causes me to have a conniption. Even as I sit there and binge watch it, the episodes are like half-hour episodes. And so again, with the women, it's the white women who are the ones who are desirable. There are a few black women in it. And I've noticed the few black women tend to be, like, one is a wife of an NFL player, one is a doctor. So it's almost like the black women in the show get higher status. I want to say that. So if y'all have watched it, let me know what y'all think about that. Because I'm like, okay, well, there's a few black women in here, and they're not the ones running around naked as much. There are some, of course. I rewatched If Beale Street Could Talk. Oh, Kathleen. This past weekend, and one of the lines the father figure of the movie said stuck to me. Okay, please share. Because, yes, that was a beautiful movie, If Beale Street Could Talk. So if y'all haven't seen that, this is much better. If Beale Street Could Talk, which is the film version of a James Baldwin book. And it's really about love. It's a beautiful love story that is constrained by, again, racism and over-policing of black people. He said they made us believe, oh wait, where'd it go? He made us believe we need money to thrive, and when have we ever had it? I'm paraphrasing, but I think that James Baldwin put that line in there to wake us up and understand. Yep, they made us believe that we need money to thrive, but we never even had it, and so we've been okay. But yeah, the American dream makes us chase after, or the idea of the American dream makes us chase after what we don't have. And it makes us feel bad. It's designed to make us feel bad when we don't have it. When we don't achieve the golden ring or whatever, the house, the picket fence, whatever it is nowadays, you got to have. So while we're on that rat race chasing after it, we're having a decline in the quality of life. But we had we had it, we have it better before in terms of quality of life and community when we were not running after the golden ring. So here in that film, Kathleen, right, we see these people in love, and it's like love and family are the most important things. And especially because you see that these two lovers are basically star-crossed lovers, right, who have all of these challenges because, again, of racism and over-policing of Black bodies, right, Black men being, caught up in the system, and the problems that creates for maintaining family. But love prevails, which is why, Baldwin is my favorite. In case y'all on the channel, you didn't know that, Baldwin is my favorite child. And my students know, y'all better read this, James Baldwin. You will not pass my class. Do not pass go if you have not read James Baldwin. Do I even have the book? Yeah. Of course I have it handy. You have to at least read, well, If Beale Street Could Talk, or The Fire Next Time, which is an essay, which is one of the most famous essays that, he's most well known for. He wrote this in 1962, and he could have written it yesterday. We are experiencing the fire next time. We are experiencing the fire next time. He said, if y'all don't get this race thing together, and he's really talking to liberal white people, it's the undoing of America. And he's like, liberal white people, the ones who say you want to help, today we call them allies. Today we say, okay, if you really want to be an anti-racist, here are the things that you have to do. Because if you just think you can sit this one out, no, you're participating and perpetuating white supremacy, and it's going to be the undoing of America. Again, he said that in 62, and here we are in 2021 living with that. So anyway, let's see, Kathleen, continue. Capitalism and racism go hand in hand. As long as we keep participating in it, our problem will persist. Exactly. Capitalism. I also ask my students, can capitalism ever be neutral? Because I want to have the conversation in my classes, and I also want because this is liberal California, right? So my students are like, yeah, no capitalism, we need to, and I'm like, well, let's really think through the benefits of capitalism, or at least how it's supposed to be beneficial, how it has created a very wealthy nation called America, but let's critique it and see how this might work better. But mind you, we still live in a capitalist society. It's not getting ready to change anytime soon. Not to say that it can't change, because I believe it will have to. The structures of capitalism are indeed cracking all around us, right? Everything is cracking all around us. So it will have to be remodeled in terms of, 50 years from now, what will American life look like? 100 years from now, what will it look like? But I ask them on exam questions to answer that question. Is capitalism ever neutral? Right? And I have them, flesh that out as an essay. No, it can't, because its principle is rooted in the survival of the fittest and the profiting of the fittest, right, Kathleen? The profit. And so you can't be a pharmaceutical company and actually be for the welfare of people. I gave them that example last week. You cannot be a pharmaceutical company and actually have the welfare of the people as your prime directive, because you are a corporation who seeks profit first. That is by definition what a corporation does, right? So if you are a corporation, that means you have to return a profit to your shareholders above and beyond anything. So that means, okay, the price of the drugs have to be high enough, higher and higher and higher. How much can I get for this? How much can I get for this? Because I want to return a certain kind of profit. So yeah, I tend to agree. No, it's not morally neutral. Although people may think of it as like this somehow abstraction of a marketplace. What prices does the marketplace bear? The marketplace is people. So anyway, that's just one of the things I ask them to think through, because as long as we have a system, an economic system that says that we all just go along with the fact that we have an underclass, we're going to always have an underclass. And what we see in America now is the underclass is overflowing the former boundaries that we had for the underclass. Homeless situation is out of control in most major cities. There's no longer like, oh, there's a homeless shelter over there, or there's just a few homeless people here. It's everywhere. In LA, I mean, I am amazed that there are tent cities and places that are considered to be really nice neighborhood. I mean, like prosperous, but there's nowhere for them to go. So it's not like those people can even call the police and say, move them. Where are they going? It's overflowing now the boundaries of what we used to have for this. So that's why I say we've agreed on some level that we're okay with having a certain number of people in poverty and being homeless, but now that's out of control. So we'll have to do something about that as a nation. I'm not sure if you heard about what's going on with Pfizer COVID vaccine in some South American country not being able to get it because Pfizer have all this demand laid down to the country. So we could see that coming, right, Kathleen, that we could see that coming because somehow or another Pfizer is going to, and probably the other companies will follow as best they can in terms of power and money. Because that's what capitalism says you get to do. So we should all be striving for more empowered money, more power and money, more power and money, continually. And then when you get more power and money, you get to control other people. So that's what's imploding. And we're going to see with these vaccines all over the world. We're going to see how these pharmaceutical companies act. And it's not going to be surprising because they're going to be out for power and control, money, because that's what they do. I also gave my students the example of banking and real estate development in terms of gentrifying neighborhoods. You know, I see pastors pushing the vaccine. Well, you know, I'm on this school campus. I'm going to have to take this vaccine. I mean, I don't know what to, there's no way around it. I don't even know what to say. Here we are at a time and place where I think you won't be able to move through society, or let's just say doors will be closed to you if you don't take this vaccine. That's what's insidious, is that we all have choice. You can say, well, of course you have choice. Well, the deal is when you exercise your choice, let's say not to have the vaccine, what doors get automatically closed to you? And that's what I mean by being free. How free are any of us? If we're not in power, then other people close doors on us and say, oh, well, you don't have your vaccine? You can't show me that you had a vaccine? If not, then you can't work here. Your kids can go to school here. You know, you can't come into these restaurants. I mean, I just really see it pervading our whole society, that's how it's going to go. I really think that's how it's going to go. I don't know what I want to say about that, but I will be getting it, I'm sure. And you know, as Black people, we all looking like, what is that? What is in that? And for a lot of reasons, right? I always say, one book I wanted to read, I never did get around to, it's around here somewhere, about Henrietta Lacks and, you know, how the medical establishment has abused Black bodies in the past, historically. I mean, the medical establishment just have. They've abused us. And so, you know, we remember that. We're like, oh, well, I don't trust you. Right? And because we know the medical establishment is largely a corporate entity or made up of corporate entities. We can never be free in this system unless we're ready to give up some things. That's what I mean. Like, it's going to cost us something. It always costs us something. So back to Cornel West, right? He is in a position of privilege where even if it costs him his job at Harvard, he can be okay because he has enough. I mean, I say he has enough money. He has, you know, financial resources, and he's already gotten a flood of offers from other universities to come there and do whatever he wants. If he never wanted to teach anymore, he could write some more books and be highly paid for them, speaking gigs, everything. but it will cost him in terms of not having that job, which he has already earned, right? It will be a closed door to him, even at his level. That book is fabulous, as well as a movie starring. Oh, okay, Kathleen, I could watch the movie, which, I always say, read the book. But honestly, I have so many books to read. That book is fabulous, right? But we know that we've been abused by these medical systems, and none of us is trying to sign up for that. And that, profit has been made off of our black bodies and continues to be made off of our black bodies. This country loves blackness, but at the same time despises it. It's the craziest thing. All right, I think I'm gonna get off here. What else do I want to talk about? Let me see. I know. I just unveiled my new and improved website. So DrDarnise's.com, go to DrDarnise's.com. I did a whole refresh. So if you've ever been to my website, go again, because I did a whole refresh, and it is, I think, if I say so myself, pretty cool, and it represents where I'm going next in the future. I mean now, really. I mean, in terms of how I am putting together the way I work with Black women. You'll see the headline is Spirituality, Self-Care, and Empowerment. I'm really focusing my coaching work and my business and on the spirituality, self-care, and empowerment for Black women. Self-love, self-care, luxury, reminding Black women that we deserve the best and that we deserve rest. We can say no when something is too much. We don't have to be super women all the time. We are super and magical and all that stuff, but we need our rest. And so I want to create a space on that website. I said, I'm creating a sacred space for us as Black women to be able to come together and share and talk about what burdens we carry as Black women. And then, for me to kind of lead or guide Black women to say, let's see how we can put some of that stuff down that we carry as Black women for our own well-being. Only pick up the things that you want to pick up. Do what you like to do more. Say no to some people more. And live into your spirituality. Live into your self-care and be empowered. Don't give yourself away. There's so many young women out here. Whew. I am so disheartened. It's not like it's the first time, the first generation where it's pervasive in terms of the way that girls are raised. Girls and women were raised to please men. We're raised to be people pleasers, to be nice and to be available. And it makes us diminish ourselves in some cases. So some women, particularly women under 40, are still chasing a man's approval, right? They see themselves through the male gaze, a particular kind of male gaze that only wants to objectify them. And I want to empower us to say we are not just that. We can be sexually empowered too, but so many of us are losing ourselves because we're chasing what we think men want us to be. And we do that for a number of years. And typically in the 40s, you realize this is some BS, right? And you crash for one reason or another. And you hopefully, actually it's a good thing, so you have a reset, which is why I wrote this book, 40 something over here. 10 radical lessons for women on how to live and love without losing yourself, because it's so easy to lose yourself when you're chasing something, because you're saying, I don't have it within myself. I have to chase it. I have to chase validation outside of myself. And whenever you do that, what you end up realizing is you can't find it outside yourself anyway. But you will do harm to yourself when you're chasing it, especially for decades, when you're chasing it, right? And so I see a lot of our young women um, falling for the same thing all over again, right? And I just want us to do better, have more. Yeah, we got Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, and they do what they do. I just want them to have more too. So if they make their coins, their initial coins from the TNA show that they put on, okay, but please have something else so you can step into becoming a business person like Rihanna or another person who we forget about, Iman. Remember the model Iman? Iman had a cosmetic company for black people back in the day, and people slept on it mostly. But here she is again, coming in a very public way with her line. If y'all watch HSN, the Home Shopping Network, which I do, you'll see her on there. But anyway, I just want us to get our coins and do something with it. So if you're going to start your career as a stripper or whatever it is, get your coins and transform it so that now you have something for the community or for your own family line. Turn that into wealth. If you had to shake your TNA for, $1 million, do something with that million. Don't look up and be broke and now you're 40 and nobody wants to look at you because it's another 20-year-old on the scene. That's my thing that I always say to my students. They look at me like, but Megan. I'm like, we've seen this before. And so Kathleen has asked me, have I seen Billie Holiday? I started to watch the Billie Holiday movie, but it was late and I was very sleepy. And I was like, ooh, I'm not up for this lynching situation right now. So I didn't go back and finish it. I barely got into it. So I do want to do that probably this weekend. Kathleen, did you like it, Kathleen? Because as I've said, I get weary of watching struggle movies and being reminded about lynching. And as I said, I teach this, right? I'm inundated in African American history and religion, all 24/7. So where other people watch these kinds of things and they get a history lesson or they get reminded or they learn something new, I stay in this stuff, right? I read this. I almost live it. So for me to try to unwind and then watch Billie Holiday, which is really about lynching, this particular thing, I'd rather go back and watch Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross and Billy D. Williams. But I'm not saying it's bad because I haven't really seen it. So Kathleen, I'm just wondering if you watched it and what you think. Thank you very much. I'll be checking out your work. Okay. And recommending it to my community. Well, Kathleen, what is your community? Do I know already? Put it in there so we can all see what it is. But so back to that, the website, please do go and check. I guess I can just put it right here in here. Oops, I guess I should put does YouTube even let me put let me see. We're going to see what happens. So DrDarnise's.com, and yeah, it's focusing on the spirituality, self-care, and empowerment for Black women. I am going to have a membership group that starts probably by May. You'll see, I'll share information here. You'll see a sort of ramp up to what's getting ready to happen next in terms of how people can work with me. People want to coach with me one-on-one. I really have very few slots for one-on-one coaching anymore. And frankly, that's pretty exclusive. But I have other ways of working with me, which is like a VIP day or half day where, you and I work together, of course, by Zoom now in segments. We meet together and then I say, okay, go and do this. And we come back on together and we do some more to help you with whatever you are and what you want to accomplish next in your own life. Where are you stuck? For example, women who are 40 something, right? Or older, doesn't matter the age exactly. What is it that you want to step into in the next stage of your own personal evolution? Where are you going in life and what's presenting to you as an obstacle? That's the basis of my coaching. What's presenting to you as an obstacle when you're ready? You have a dream, a goal, a vision, but you're scared, which is always the case. We're all scared. You do it scared, right? But there are obstacles that's going to present. So, okay, how do we get through that? And so that's what my coaching is these days, but more in a group format. So I'm going to be doing that group format starting in May as a membership. between now and May, I've got like 5 slots, really 3 because two were kind of already spoken for, but let's say 5 slots right now for people who want to do like a, they want to get started right away. And so they're going to be able to work with me in a very small group, 5 people maximum, 3 to 5 people in a group. They'll be able to get like direct access to me, and then we'll start the group because some people have already reached out to me. So if you're interested in that, reaching in like, yeah, I want to do the membership, but what can we do before then? I have that early bird list. Basically, it's an early bird list. And for those who are willing to do the early bird, then they get this extra time with me. Anyway, that's DrDarnise's.com. Kathleen, okay, the movie you're saying, this is the Billie Holiday, yeah, is everything. It is a fabulous movie and very informative. It showed her in a way that my generation doesn't know her as the godmother of civil rights. Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's good to know too, because I normally teach my students about her civil rights activism through the song Strange Fruit, but it doesn't go that deep in the class. So this will be something that I can assign to them as well. Also, I wonder if you know about, you probably do, Kathleen, a lot of this stuff, but Josephine Baker too was another of our queens who was very much a civil rights activist who people have forgotten about. Josephine Baker has become an icon for her banana dance, right? People know that. They know that artwork, but she did a lot for America, even though she chose to move to France because of American racism, right? And so her journey is kind of complex too, because she made her coins by being naked on the stage and dancing provocatively. So I always tell my students, you think Megan and Cardi are doing something new? They ain't doing nothing new. Josephine Baker been doing that. But again, she was able to transform and do more than just be a performer on a stage. She was able to have a long career. She had her ups and downs and all, but she did a lot. And a lot of people have forgotten about Josephine Baker. So I just raise the name of that ancestor as well. But okay, Kathleen, that makes me want to make sure I watch it before the weekend is out. The movie is very timely. Okay. Seems like there's something else too. Did I watch? I don't know. There's so many things now, so many networks. You can't even keep up. But like, you say, did you watch this? Did you watch that? The first thing people are like, well, what network is it on? Because I don't know if I have that streaming service. I don't know if I have this one. I don't know if I have that one. And at this point, I feel like I have too many. But anyway, okay. Oh, gosh, I just been out here talking. I'm so glad that y'all stopped by to have some time with me on this Friday evening. This has been, just a catch up and, just every now and then I come on and just see what's up and see who wants to hang. But I'm going to go wrap it up. I still have not even eaten dinner, and it's like almost 8 o'clock here in LA. So thank y'all, and that's it. That's going to be a bye for now. And Kathleen, thank you so much for all of your commentary with me, and everybody else who showed up. Thank y'all.